Okay. Okay, well, what I did and what I'm going to speak on is trying to tie together some of the themes between the last major eclipses that we had into the equinox, a few months, into kind of the beginning of December. I also kind of found, as I was doing some of this work, a couple major themes through these charts and through these activations, and is quite interesting. And I'll get to those two major themes. A lot of it has to do, of course, with the energy that we've been going through and how it's been building and building, and the chaos and the transformations, and a lot of the chaos and the overwhelmingness of these energies that are affecting everyone. And I think it's extremely important to know what's happening up there as far as the energies, the interactions of the planets, and how the energies are affecting us here on Earth before we can really guide somebody. We can guide them by doing their chart, but when they walk out our door, they have to deal with the energies that are affecting everyone out there and affecting the world, and as we can see, also affecting Mother Earth, who is alive, and I think she's a little pissed off at the moment. I think it's very important to understand the energies of the new and the full moons, the equinoxes, solstices, etc., so that we know how to navigate those with our own energy from our own chart, which is what we do, of course, when we do the individual readings. And that's kind of why I write new moon and full moon reports a lot, is to let people know what energies they need to navigate when they get out into the real world out there. So I'm going to start with a couple basic things before, and then a little bit on the equinox chart, etc., before I get into my themes, okay? When we look at the full moons and the new moons, of course, we just had a new moon yesterday. They are quite powerful all the time, but of course, the aspects make them even more so. With full moons, we hear stories all the time. The cops and the hospitals can tell you about them as the crazies come out. That's kind of from the police forces. And the hospitals, it's been noted, they have more bursts at that time. So that full moon energy is very, very strong when it hits the earth. The new moons, however, people tend to go inward more. They want to be comfortable. They want to be maybe at home. Some people like to meditate more, but a lot of people like to listen to music more, or just go for walks and stay outside during new moons. These are all kind of proven facts about what happens with the energy of the moons. Of course, that alters, of course, what sign the new and the full moon happen to be in, and what other aspects are going on at that time. So with the solstice and the equinoxes, of course, Western astrology is based on the seasons, based on the equinoxes and the solstices. It's cardinal signs that happen whenever there's a solstice or an equinox. They all have the sun moving into cardinal signs, and of course, cardinal energy is I just drew a blank there a minute. I'll be back with that in a minute. But the cardinal signs are very, very important. The equinoxes and the solstices are portals to the universe. They open up at the exact time of the entrance of the sun into the cardinal energy. There's an opening of the portals to the universe, therefore giving us the ability to grab a hold of some of the universal energies, the galactic energies, etc. And as we grab a hold of them, quote unquote, they activate in us our subconscious and our DNA, where we have knowledge from past lives and knowledge from maybe when we were in open communication, mostly telepathically with ancient star systems. And we all come in with a lot of knowledge from other lifetimes that's down in our subconscious. and these portals that open up during eclipses and during the equinoxes and the solstices, etc., are very important for activating that knowledge that we come in with. Eclipses are very important, and as you know, we had 2 in August. One of them was they were both very, very powerful. They tend to, it tends to be a time when there's a lot of passings of famous people, especially this last eclipse that we had on August 21st. We had several musicians and very well-known people that passed, but a lot of them in the music industry at this point. They're a very powerful point of energy, and the eclipses create a wobble, or like a wobble or a bubble in a time frame. All the energy is coming down really, really nice and smooth, and then all of a sudden it gets disrupted, and everyone notices it. Animals, everything will notice this energy being disrupted during an eclipse. The flow of the light and the dark. It stirs up our subconscious. Eclipses also affect the pineal gland, and also affects the magnetoreceptors in our DNA, along with radio waves and X-rays. They activate shifts in the electromagnetic field of the Earth itself and all of its inhabitants. So it's interesting when you think of all that, and you think of everything weather-wise that has happened since the very powerful eclipses in August. That there's been major hurricanes. How many have there been now? 4, I think, or maybe 5, but 3 powerful ones, and all within a very short time period. We've had over 75 fires between Canada, the lower part of Canada, and the northwestern part of the United States, which is kind of basically burning up at the moment. We've had the earthquakes. We had the 8.1 in Mexico, which was in a lot of the mountain area. Then, of course, we had the 7.1 that is very, very active right now as they're trying to save, I think it's 5 children now. So they found a pocket where there's 5 children that are alive that they're trying to get to save. So the Earth, and there's been some volcanoes also, and other Earth things. So the Earth has been affected very much by these very powerful energies at the eclipse, the August eclipses. That energy, of course, lasts for up to 6 months. The eclipse energy. It's also activated very much what I like to call, quote unquote, the soap opera in Washington, D.C. The back and forth with our current president of the United States. And the reason I bring that up, of course, the eclipse landed on the ascendant of the president of the United States, but also opposed the moon of the United States. And as you know, between the UN conferences and things going on in Korea and all over the world, that particular eclipse landing affecting the United States tremendously is affecting the whole world. And kind of don't know which way that's all going to go. It's still playing out. It's only been a few weeks since the eclipse, but it's been quite a wild ride all over the world between all of the weather things, the earth things, and then all the political things going on with the President of the United States activating a lot of that. So all of that is affected and it was put into motion majorly by the eclipse. One of the things in that eclipse that made it even more powerful is the fact that we had a grand cross, cardinal grand cross going on. That cardinal energy is very urgent energy. It's a very changeable energy, a transformative energy, and it's known for birthing of new. And that obviously is how it is happening along with the urgency. So we had a grand cross, cardinal grand cross with Uranus and Eris conjunct, squaring Pluto, squaring Jupiter, and then bringing in the square of Venus and Ceres, all of them opposing and squaring each other. And at that eclipse, new moon eclipse, we had Mars playing in there, Mars in the North Node. Now Mars has become a very, very important activator in many of these charts that I've been looking at, the full moon, the new moon charts, the eclipse charts, the equinox. I went all the way back to June, to the summer solstice, and I looked for Mars, and there was Mars sitting with the sun at the summer solstice as it moved into Cancer. Mars seems to be the activator going on right now, which I think many of us can understand insofar as the very kind of abrupt and active and energies of Mars. Also, that like the arguments and the competition, the war kind of language and talks, and the fierceness of the weather, etc. There's a high end to Mars, and that's really what we need to concentrate on a lot here. As I did a lot of this research, we need to really focus on the high end of Mars, which is our own passion, and our passion can be peace. Our passion can be, getting along. The passion can be starting new projects, starting new missions, activating that pioneer energy of Mars, that let's start this crusade of Mars, taking that energy and trying to shift it, manifest it, intend it, because right now the focus that we're seeing the most is destructive almost. And when you have, starting back with the summer solstice, Mars sitting right with that sun is a big indicator of how the summer was going to go until we came to the fall equinox, which is now. So that, and the cardinal square was going on at that time. It was a T-square, no, it was a grand cross. There was a cardinal grand cross at the summer solstice with Mars traveling with the sun. So kind of an indicator there of that. Then I also went in and I looked at July. And I came to July and I pull it up, and there again, we had a cardinal grand cross going on, and there sits Mars with the sun. So the full Capricorn moon, the first moon of July after the summer solstice. Mars is with the sun. We also have Pluto with the moon at that particular time. So as I'm looking at this, I'm going, okay, Mars, that war energy, that let's stir it up. Let's make some changes. Let's take a step and let's move forward. Along with Pluto at the full Capricorn moon on July 8th was also a very, very powerful signature along with another grand cross. So here are a couple of the themes that I have found through the whole summer and that are continuing into the fall, etc., is cardinal grand crosses or T-squares and Mars. So it became very, very interesting to put that all together, that the themes run through. Now, the cardinal square, of course, started in 2010 and will start really fluctuating in May, fluctuating now. And most people think it'll end in May when Uranus goes into Taurus, but we still have Eris sitting there. And Eris is the planet of discord and the planet of chaos, and she started the Trojan War. So actually the cardinal square with Pluto will continue until Pluto moves into Aquarius. So anyway, so we'll continue to have the cardinal square, T-squares, grand crosses with the dwarf planet of Eris, who is very, very powerful. So in July, when I pulled up the second chart, real quick for the new moon, again we have Mars sitting with the new moon during that, and we have a T-square, cardinal T-square. So now we're up to the eclipses in July, and I was talking already about the eclipse on the 21st. But the lunar eclipse on the 7th was the same way. Mars was sitting right with the sun. And we had the cardinal grand cross going on again. So this cardinal grand cross, I mean, urgency, change, and transformation, birthing of new is carrying through even now. Very, very, what do I want to say? It's like the universe is saying, do you get it? The universe is getting very urgent. The shift that started in 2010, when Pluto and Uranus first entered the cardinal square, that shift, that spiritual shift, the shift in the world, the shift of the energies, have continued through all these years since 2010 with that powerful square between Pluto and Uranus that started. All the way through that time, of course, we've had cardinal T-squares and cardinal grand crosses with other planets. I think the universe, like I said, is getting very urgent right now as far as wanting us to really exceed and get as far as we can while we still have this energy pushing us and making openings that we can make all these changes that we need to make for the good of humanity and the good of the earth. The changes in the government, the military, and the stock market in all the countries over the world, with Pluto being in Capricorn, but Pluto also wanting respect and integrity, and no lies, no secrets, and no out of bounds ego, and of course a lot of that's being shown everywhere. The ego or the sex things that have gotten many CEOs and political people into trouble since the shift started in 2010. Very, very powerful time in our history. So as we watch all this build up from before the eclipses that we just had in August, and watching how that affects everybody, and watching now how it plays out in the government and the world governments, because it was such an active hit on the chart of the United States and the president. It's very wild times kind of right now, very chaotic. A lot of fear out there, and that fear can be brought about with the Mars, that Mars connection, right in with the suns and right in with major aspects at the solstices and the equinoxes, and it's very telling as we continue. Does anyone have any questions or anything? Okay, you're welcome.
Yes, Cathy. Yes, it's Linda. Have you looked ahead at the eclipses next year?
No.
Okay, that's okay. I was just wondering if Mars was going to be prominent.
Okay, what's the date of the eclipses? Do we know?
Well, I can look them up while you're speaking, okay?
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Cathy.
I can tell. Okay. Okay, so the equinox. The equinox that we will be having tomorrow is very, very powerful also. The equinox that happens tomorrow, and of course it's a fall equinox up here, and the spring equinox for those south of the equator, like where you people are. What I noticed Mars playing an important part here. Mars isn't with the Sun, but Mars is with Mercury and Mars is with Venus, and it's opposing Neptune. And this is a very important part also of the equinox. We have a T-square. We have a cardinal T-square going on at the equinox, and then we have Mars that is right with Mercury, which means the voice. That's coming through talking. That's coming through communication, Twitter, any kind of writings. Mars affecting affecting Mercury and opposing Neptune, and so it's almost like, and I'm thinking government-wise, I'm thinking of speeches or Twitters or gatherings, like the UN, etc. Having Mars with Mercury opposing Neptune makes the voice very, very foggy at times, or not sure if that they're saying the right thing, not sure if the truth's actually being said, or is it being kind of hidden in that Neptunian Pisces kind of energy. So it seems that Mars is not with the Sun, but it is playing a very important part when it comes to communication and being able to speak of ideas that are maybe out there, or new ideas, or more concrete ideas, etc. And everything might not be factual because of the opposition to Neptune. So that's it'll be a very important time to watch what is being said, what the news is saying, or what someone is implying, etc. With Mars there opposing Mercury, also bringing Venus in, which is about love. So that brings in romance, that brings in relationships. It's a time period right now, and through the fall equinox here, or the spring one for you guys, the truth in relationships. Is the person, you got Mars and Venus, the two that represent relationships, and Neptune, unconditional love, and they're opposing each other here. And so what is the truth coming through in relationships? And that's romantic ones, of course, but also relationships at work, with your bosses, and in the office, relationships in families. Very, very important, the Mars activation there at the equinox. And again, we do have a T-square happening with Uranus and Eris squaring Pluto, and then also squaring Jupiter. Jupiter in the chart of the fall equinox is sitting with the moon, opposing Eris and Uranus. So our emotional core is it's upgraded quite high. It's very, very active. The electricity is running like crazy, you might say, because Uranus and it's outside the box energy, and like earthquakes and etc. coming in at lightning speed, both energy on our bodies and also thoughts, etc. Sitting with Eris, which of course, as we know, is a lot of chaos, opposing Jupiter, which can expand that energy, or can take it into higher knowledge and more joy and optimism, sitting with the Scorpio Moon. So, and Scorpio can be very, it can be very hard emotionally, depending also if someone is working with the high end of Scorpio, which is natural shamanism or spirituality. It's the very positive end of the very high psychic and spiritual end of Scorpio, or that gray side of Scorpio, which is very dark and very competitive and very jealous and very manipulative. So we have that activation going on during this equinox tomorrow. So keeping everything to the high side is pivotal. It's real pivotal right now to be able to keep everything to the high side, manifesting it and using the higher energies. A real activation. And then you got to remember that that the moon is in Scorpio, which is ruled by Mars at this equinox. And this energy will last, of course, till the summer solstice. We also have, let's see, the sun at the fall equinox is sitting on the supergalactic center. And the supergalactic center is an area that it's a galactic center, the super one that has like 30 plus galaxies that rotate around it. So at this equinox tomorrow, the sun is sitting on the supergalactic center, forming a portal that actually connect not only with our galactic center and our galaxy, etc., but over 30 some galaxies that are all spinning around the supergalactic center. So another very positive, I'm going to call it a positive aspect, because it will activate a lot of knowledge that we have in our subconscious again and in our DNA. But another very powerful energy at this equinox tomorrow. I'm looking at my notes here. So we also have Saturn, and Saturn is playing in as it, where do I have Saturn here? Okay, well, Saturn is getting close to the galactic center, as we know. It's a ways away right now, but it's coming in and activating a lot of, it'll be activating a lot of energy as far as the Saturn works in Sagittarius. As it heads to the galactic center, Saturn is so important because this is the last area right now, the last time period for the next 3 months that we will have Saturn in Sagittarius. So being able to work with that energy and being able to bring in Saturn, being Saturn government, but Sagittarius international and international government. Now's the time, these next 3 months, to work with that, because Saturn will be moving into Capricorn at the winter solstice, or like a day before the winter solstice, a time period there. And then there'll be a real focus on our individual governments. So right now, working with Saturn and working with Saturn within the charts is very, very important as far as international. And again, a lot of, when I say very important, we can make changes through manifestations. We're very powerful. A lot of the predictions from the Bible, from Nostradamus, etc., we've been able to move through those and not have to adhere to all of those predictions. And most of that is because of our prayers or our intentions or our manifestations, however you want to phrase that. We're very powerful that way. We're more powerful than the predictions. But of course, if we don't do that or do any of that, the predictions more than likely will happen. So a very important time to work with the international and Saturn energies right now, while we still have it in Sagittarius. I hope that makes sense. Did you find the dates on that?
Yes, I found the dates, Cathy, but I can't find any charts that are already drawn up for the eclipses next year.
Okay.
But I've just put in the chat the eclipses for 2018. But anyway, I don't want to derail you. Do you want to just go back to what you have prepared?
Yeah, and I have the eclipses. Are they in November or October? Oh no, they're next year, aren't they?
Next year, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't draw those up. Yeah.
Okay, not to worry. Thanks,
yeah,
Cathy.
I think the reason why was because I know I speak in December, and I think that was kind of why I hadn't done that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So really at this equinox also, we have 2 portals that are actually opening up. the equinox itself is a portal that I had talked about, but also the fact that the sun is sitting on the supergalactic center is another portal. So we actually have two portals opening. And that's real important to recognize with our guidance and with our knowledge when the portals open, you know, so that we receive the correct energy that we need to receive working with our guidance. But it's an important time. It's an important gateway. It's the exact time is what's real important on those. So like the exact time for Central Daylight Time here is 3:02 p.m. and of course that changes with the different time zones. But that's what's real important to honor the downloads or honor the activations when the portals are open at the exact time. And it's fun to have ceremonies and celebrations at the equinoxes and the solstices all day long, but to receive and to really connect with the knowledge or the activations that can come in at these pivotal time periods, you need to be doing something right around the actual time. I usually, 10 minutes before, 10 minutes after, kind of a thing myself, of being in a place to be able to open up to those energies. So that's 3:02 Central Daylight Time. And for you people down south, those of you that are south of the equator, moving into spring out of winter, that's always a very exciting time. Here I'm in Iowa in the United States, and it's a very beautiful time. It's when all the trees are starting to turn and the leaves are turning colors, and everybody's harvesting, and I still have a few tomatoes on my vine still, but I know it won't be long. And getting ready to kind of hunker in and do more reading and do more research during the cold winter months. And you people are looking forward to spring and flowers and warm weather. So it's kind of really interesting that we share the same equinox and solstices, but we have totally different energies as we move into the new seasons, etc. So I think that is quite interesting. I did want to mention too that there I have it. Okay, so I was going to just, if anyone has any questions about the equinox or anything, you're welcome to ask anytime, or you can wait till the end or whatever. I'm fine with questions or comments. So I did bring up the charts for October for the full moon and the new moon. And when I brought up the chart of the full moon in October, it's in Aries, which of course is ruled by Mars. And it is in a T-square. There's a cardinal T-square going on with the usual planets. Uranus and Eris squaring Pluto, which is squaring the Sun and Mercury and Vesta. So we have a cardinal T-square going on with the Sun and Mercury and Vesta at the full moon in October. And where's Mars? Mars is sitting there with Venus. Mars is square Saturn. And Mars is opposite Neptune still. So we still have the theme that we're having at the equinox. The theme is being activated by Mars again, and of course the cardinal square with the Sun and Mercury. So it's a very powerful cardinal square, and we have the Mars again sitting right next to the same degree, 19 degrees of Venus. So there's a lot of this Mars on the gray side with war and action and threats and all this kind of stuff going on worldwide, and also in people's relationships. because it's been traveling with Venus. And it was 2 days ago, I received 12 phone calls because of relationships that were breaking up or falling apart. And it was mostly relationships, and there was a couple other ones. People wanting to know what's going on, or what do they do now, and all of this. And I looked at the equinox chart coming up. I looked at the moon coming up. There was the Venus Mars connections at the full moon in October. They're sitting right at the same degree. So there's a lot of relationships happening. A lot of reevaluation in relationships. A lot of, does this person vibrate where I vibrate now? I'm growing. We're all growing. We grow at the soul level. Is your partner keeping up with you, etc.? All of this stuff is being put in our faces during this time period with Mars, and as is traveling with Venus through these months here. A lot of relationship stuff, bosses, families, mothers and kids, mothers and sons. I had one of those phone calls. And so it's really, with all the other energy going on and the kind of fear and angst, a lot that's putting out, when you start getting in with the love planets, with Venus and Mars traveling together, and then when the moon's, of course, involved in it, which if this is a full moon, it becomes very, very much personal, very personal relationships going on. It also activates world relationships between countries, etc. So it's a very challenging time, and the universe, God, Yahweh, whatever your version is, a creator. It's like at this particular time in history, we're supposed to be recognizing our own energy and recognizing those that are coming in and trying to keep us from our soul growth and trying to keep us from the world and humanity's growth. And if they're not vibrating where you're vibrating from, a huge message over this whole summer going into fall is it's time to move away from, in a very kind way, you don't have to burn bridges, you don't have to be mean, but gravitate away from those people, places, and things that are no longer vibrating where we're vibrating. Because we're all on this, like ascension path, this spiritual path, this path of goodness, and peace for everybody, accented, of course, by the cardinal square when the shift started. That's one of the main themes of the shift. Another one is bringing everything into balance. Well, we're way out of balance right at the moment, but before we can build the new, we have to get rid of the old, which is, you can see that all over the world, not just in relationships. And but in relationships, it's hard. I've had to gravitate away from a few friends that are no longer where I'm at. Like, I don't, there may be too much in drama, or there may be too much into, they and everybody evolves at their own speed and their own way. And so right now it's a time that you just gravitate away from those that are not where you are energetically. It doesn't mean they can't catch up with you. And you can still have lunch with them and talk to them on the phone. I'm not saying, you have to do bad things, but just know in your own mind that you need to be with like energy at this particular time in order for all of us to be able to create this new world, as referred to a lot of times, but a peaceful world. A world where we treat people with respect and dignity, and we try to help people move forward, etc. Not quite the fairy tale of Neptune, which everyone would like to think, but that is what the shift is about, and that's why we've been in this cardinal square, T-square, Grand Cross, etc. Why, like right now, we're having Mars activate so much, because Mars is energy, and it's movement, it's action. And, this shift will only last so long, and then we won't have this energy pushing us. We won't have the universe or creative putting things right in our face so that we have to deal with them now. We have to make those decisions. We have to move forward, into better energy, etc. once the cardinal square, and like I said, after Uranus moves into Taurus, it'll be Eris sitting there. Once that cardinal square dissipates, we're not going to have so much urgent and transformative and birthing of new energy pushing us to make these changes. So the universe is getting very, very urgent about everybody, all humanity, the earth, the world, making the changes that need to be made. Okay, that's kind of my view on that. So as I looked into October, on October 10th, of course, Jupiter moves into Scorpio. So Jupiter, our fun, our joy, optimism, high knowledge, high college knowledge, high spiritual knowledge. Jupiter, the kind of, a lot of people would call the good luck planet, is going to move into Scorpio. But the one thing about Jupiter that people have to remember is the expansion part. So whatever you're putting out there, whatever energy that you're surrounding yourself with is going to expand. And so that's another reason to move forward. On the day, as far as energy, surround yourself with the energy that you like. So on October 10th, when Jupiter moves into Scorpio, the chart, there sits Venus and Mars right together again. Still, I should say, still together. So again, an emphasis on the relationships. And some of those relationships, besides romantic, could be work relationships. Maybe it's time to gravitate away from. Gravitate away from the energies that are no longer meshing with you. Maybe you need to change a workplace or a job. Those kind of relationships come in also. It's real hard to stay in high energy if you go to work every day and the energy is absolutely horrible. What are you going to do about that? That's kind of what this is about, these relationships, besides romantic ones. And it's a very, very powerful chart. Scorpio also is ruled by Mars. There's another Mars activation coming in as Jupiter enters Scorpio. So it's a huge time period that the universe is saying we need to take action. We need to change. It doesn't mean we need war, and it doesn't mean we need accidents, and it doesn't mean we need arguments, which are all the gray side of Mars. But we need the initiators. We need the pioneers. We need those that will take up the crusade for the higher end of the Mars energy with the passion. That shift into using that Mars energy on the high end is very, very important right now, as it's such a signature. That and the cardinal square, T-squares, grand crosses over this whole time period. So it's a very energetic time. The energy, and I'm a very feely, a lot of Pisces energy. But I do feel things, and I feel ahead of time, even when countries are getting very, very close to wanting to destroy each other, major catastrophes, those kind of things. You can start picking up on this energy, this Mars energy, and this cardinal shift, cardinal square, etc. energy is very, very powerful, and a lot of people are becoming overwhelmed with it, and a lot of people are kind of at their wits' end with it, and it's we just have to shift it, meditate, manifest, or shift that energy to the high, surround ourselves in places with that high energy. We have the ability to change this and change it into the high energy of the cardinal squares, T-squares, etc., which is that's why it was put in our radar right now. All these high energies, all these, the Mars and the cardinal squares and T-squares, that's hard to deal with. It's hard to embody all that energy in this and all these shifts and keep it to the high side. But that's the challenge of it. We have to take care of these things that are no longer working, and we we have to use and push it and manifest it into the higher energies of these planets, and not get caught up in the fear and the angst and the overwhelmness, etc., because we have work to do to keep it into the high side. So even the chart of Jupiter entering Scorpio is also a big signature in the Mars energy, actually accenting it because of Scorpio. Also the cardinal square and T-square are still going on at the time that this activation happens. We still have the Sun and Mercury and the rest together in Libra, cardinal sign squaring Pluto, squaring widely Eris and Uranus. But, when you have so much powerful energy, I use wider orbs because it's energy. And when you have like this T-square that's going on, and then Jupiter moving into Scorpio, this chart that is on now, it's hard to say. It's hard for me to imagine cutting that energy off at 5 degrees. It's energy. There's too much of it. It's too powerful. There's too many aspects connecting. And so I use the wider orbs because it is energy. And telling the cardinal square it has to stop at 5 degrees or something, to me, it doesn't feel right to me, because energy is energy, and that is a very powerful, overwhelming energy. And so I do use wider orbs. And I just wanted to explain that part. That's my thing, with the orbs like that. October 19th, of course, we have the new moon, and Mars now is still square Saturn, so it's making an emphasis there. And of course, we have Jupiter that is now in Scorpio, and it is sitting with Mercury. And so again, you have the Mars energy really connecting in with the voice with Mercury, and that's all sharing. That's all next to the new moon. The new moon is 26 Libra. Jupiter is at 2 degrees Scorpio, out of sign conjunction, but it pulls that all together. And again, ruled by Mars and squaring Saturn. So another Mars indication there, and also, of course, the grand cross, the T-square thing is still going on. So as we follow the cardinal squares and the T-squares and the Mars into November and into the beginning of December, they're still connecting. I'll talk about that briefly in a minute. But it's to me, it's almost like a message from the universe. I mean, it is time to take action. It's time to co-create, basically, the energy we want to live in, the energy around us, our communities, our tribes. Uranus is involved in this, and that brings down our communities and our tribes and our humanity, etc. So it's a very important time for all of us to be doing our work. As far as the energies that are affecting everybody, and they're affecting Mother Earth too. And like I said earlier, kind of in the beginning, I think she's a little bit upset. And, she's making herself known big time right now. And, she's not being taken care of very well. And trying to take care of her and love her, etc., is very, very important. And it's going to become even more important when Uranus enters Taurus, the Earth sign. And I'm kind of looking forward to that as far as the Earth is concerned, because she's receiving the energy. She's alive just like we are. And at times we're having a very hard time dealing with all these energies at once and incorporating them. And she is too, as we know. Right now, she's not very happy. When we go into November, as I'm looking at these charts, Mars moves into Libra. And when Mars is in Libra, it's starting to square Pluto. And Uranus Aries widely. It's becoming part of the cardinal square. And so, it becomes very, very powerful then. So we have, and I say lovingly, I put it into quotes, we call Mars the god of war, and we call Pluto the god of hell, and they're going to be squaring each other when it comes to November. And I'm looking at the full moon in November, and Mars is squaring Pluto 10 degrees out, squaring Juno. And of course, we have Jupiter conjunct the Sun in Scorpio, which is ruled by Mars. And we have a lot of activations going on cardinal-wise, and then also with Mars now being in Libra and becoming part of the cardinal square, T-square grand cross. And when we have Mars in a main position, like it's been in all these charts, following the Sun for quite a while, but still making major aspects. And we have that energy on top of the cardinal square energy and the Uranus-Pluto square, and then we've got Uranus and Aries. We've got all of this very can be volatile energy going on. And that's been true over the last several months, but especially since the eclipse and on. A lot of volatile energy. And that doesn't have to be bad if we continue to try to manifest that forward. So I really emphasize that meditation on peace, etc. Again, as Mars moves farther ahead in the new moon in November, it becomes even tighter with the cardinal square, T-square. And we also have the new moon in Scorpio. So we have the new moon in Scorpio and Mars being part of the cardinal T-square. So very, very active November when it comes to the action, etc., of Mars and the cardinal square. I did run a chart for the full moon in December and the new moon in December, although I thought I'd talk a little more about those in Saturn in Marine. Capricorn, just 2 days, a day before the solstice. But I will say that the Mars theme continues to run through December. Actually, at the full moon on December 3rd, Mars is actually opposite Uranus. Very, very powerful aspect. Could be a volatile one. We'll have to move it into higher energies. So still very, very active going into December. So that's kind of everything, kind of briefly. Are there any questions? I'd be happy to answer.
Cathy, I have a comment. I think I've said this before, but I love your energy. And I also noticed that you have a chime in your environment that kind of punctuates a lot of things that you say, which I think is just great. I also wanted to mention that the lunar eclipse in July of 2018 is conjunct Mars. And Uranus will have gone into Taurus, so it's also square it. So perhaps you'd like to speak to that.
I haven't looked at that chart, but Mars squaring, okay.
Cathy, the chart's on the screen. Can you see it?
Oh,
yeah.
All right. Oh, okay. Thank you. Oh, yes, it sure is. And that's an eclipse. That's a powerful eclipse there. Oh, and it's on the, yeah, okay, so the sun is on the nodes too. but it's squaring, Mars is squaring Uranus, and that again can be a very volatile aspect. It's in Taurus. So I feel it has something to do with the Earth. I wonder at that particular time if there isn't going to be some changes worldwide made with the Earth, like say climate change, which people are for or not against, or something. That's something very important and very some kind of action that will be taken at that particular time, having to do with the Earth. Because we still have the cardinals, we still have Pluto and Capricorn up there, which is the government, coming in. Saturn in Capricorn, ruling all that. All governments coming in, world governments, etc. And then that square, that eclipse to Uranus in Taurus, having just, I think there's a real emphasis on the Earth there. And we want to keep that energy again into the very high vibrations so that it's good changes with the Earth and people becoming more aware that we desperately have to take care of the Earth, opposed to some kind of destruction of the Earth or some kind of laws that would, have to do with harming the Earth.
And Cathy, further emphasizing that point, Venus is the ruler of Uranus in Taurus. So that's in an earth sign as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that brings in the love part. Yes, absolutely. I mean, the love of the Earth or the love of that energy. We also have Jupiter in Scorpio that's squaring the Sun. Is that right? Am I looking at that right? So,
yes, squaring the Sun and squaring the nodes. So that's a temporary skip step.
Mm-hmm. A powerful one, really. Jupiter in Scorpio. That's that can be powerful on both ends. And when I talk about Scorpio, this is my little version, and people can understand it that don't know all the technicalities. But Scorpio, there's not a whole lot in the middle. You're either the good witch or the bad witch. Kind of with Scorpio, there's not a whole lot in the middle. So we want to definitely be in this particular instance, but the whole time Jupiter's in Scorpio, really putting out there that high end, that beautiful high energy of Scorpio, and just dissolving, the gray side, the fear side, and that gray side of Scorpio, because the high side is so much more powerful than the gray side, but people get caught up in the gray side. They get caught up in jealousy and competition and all that kind of stuff. So, a very powerful time to really reach for that high side, because this could become volatile, and we don't want it to. That Mars square Uranus there, and then having to do with the Earth. Okay.
Okay, Cathy, we've reached the end of the hour, but we can still take a few questions if you wish and some comments.
Okay.
Go ahead, Summer.
Thank you. So I just wanted to kind of point out something personal that I just realized you had mentioned earlier about Mars is going to be squaring Pluto, and I am currently going through a Pluto-Mars opposition. So Mars is going to be in a T-square with my own opposition that I'm having with Pluto. I thought that'd be interesting if maybe I don't know, I just wanted to point that out, if anyone has anything to say about that.
It's a very transformative time for you. Did you say Mars was squaring or opposing your Pluto?
Well, Pluto is opposing my Mars, but Mars is going to be squaring all of that.
Take cover. transformative time for you. It will be a time for you to initiate action on your own behalf. You know, the things that are happening in your life at that time and the ones that are uncomfortable, etc. Because Mars is about action. It's about taking a step. It's about moving forward. You know, on the high end of that, where's your passion at? So take that step and take that initiation and move forward with that whole piece and work with your guidance on it, because that's a powerful one.
I totally feel that. That's like where my life is taking me. I totally resonate with that, and it'll actually be in between my my moon and my Mercury at the same time. My Mercury is at 27 degrees Libra, and my sun is at 1 degree Libra. So I mean, it's a very loose orb, but it's still in the sandwich of everything. So
right. Yeah. So yeah, I would do that. Yeah, you know.
it's in my 7th house too, by the way.
Okay, so you need the help of somebody else to help you get through this.
Story of my life.
Yeah.
Cathy, there's Summer's chart on the screen.
Uh-huh.
So we can take a look at that for a few minutes, and then we'll end the meeting. So there you go.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So it's really nice that the person whose chart this is, the Libra Sun, bringing in that balance, you know, ruled by Venus. The Moon in Taurus, very calming, ruled by Venus. And then I see Venus is involved here in the Scorpio in the 8th house. So kind of doubling the Scorpio energy. It's in its own house. Venus, Jupiter, North Node, and Pluto, and even Juno are all in a running conjunction. Very powerful, because it's energy that you're learning in this lifetime, being held back by practical things like how do I feed myself, etc. With the South Node back there in the 2nd house, you know, how do I self-survive in the past was a real focus. This lifetime, you're heading towards being able to use that higher end for the good of people, the good of you. Like I said, that high end of Scorpio, some of it is natural shamanism, earth spirituality, you know, the natural healings. I mean, the shamans were healers, and they used all their they used everything on the earth. They grew their own medicine. They used crystals and stones and their energy in their hands, and Reiki and healing touch. It also represents hospice, you know, helping people pass. A lot of clairaudience, voyance, with the ability to be able to communicate with people that pass over, is all very, very much, can be very much accented with all that Scorpio and Jupiter there, and Venus in that 8th house. It can be very, very powerful. That's where the person wants and needs to head. And then through all that, being able to self-support.
Absolutely, and I feel like with my Jupiter return, it's going to go past all over that whole stellium. So I feel like now more than ever, I'm going to really be initiated, like full on, and a lot of things are going to come to fruition, but at the same time, set me on my path, like more than ever.
Absolutely. And with that Venus-Jupiter conjunction, of course, that's kind of like having, you know, 2 guardian angels on your shoulder when you have that. I feel that. Yeah, that conjunction. And Jupiter will be going over that, so you're coming up to your Jupiter return, which is a very, very lucky time period. As Jupiter continues to get closer to your Jupiter and gets in the orb of it, I would be working with my guidance. Okay, give me the good luck and the expansion and the high energy of that Jupiter return, because that's going to start a whole 12-year cycle for you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you so much, Cathy. That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you. And just unmuting everybody now to say thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Cathy.
Bye.
Thanks, Kathy.
You're welcome. See you next time.
Awesome, Kathy. Thank you.
Thanks. You're welcome.